Good morning, Facebook Live. This is Mike George coming at you on this beautiful Sunday morning here in Alexandria at Crimson House. Man, sometimes I think that the biggest sort of virtue that we're missing in this country is humility. And I have to say, it is wonderful. It is like just utterly satisfying these days to see these great powers and powerful people being humbled. You know, it's refreshing, really, because I think, you know, especially in the age of social media, we've kind of we sort of lost touch with the art of humility. I think. In fact, I would propose that if there were to be a if there were to be a new emoticon or a new reaction, amongst the six or so that are in Facebook lands, I would propose that a new reply, a new react option would be this: humbled, meaning that you're admitting out there that you were proven wrong, and that logic and a little bit of good-natured debate had actually changed your mind. I think that would be actually a very powerful and effective sort of reply amongst the others, haha, sad, care. In fact, I would actually propose we replace the care, react with this proposed humbled reacts, because I think it would actually enrich a lot of the conversation that goes on in Facebook land, and with regards to politics, with regards to fake news, with regards to, all that kind of shit. It's been interesting to kind of see, goddamn, the world's complicated, obviously. And, I try not to get too consumed into the news these days, because you really can't. I mean, goddamn it, it's really easy these days to sometimes let yourself kind of, especially when you immerse yourself in the whole shit show, related to media and news coverage and whatnot. I mean, I think we all know this by now. I hope that a lot of social media is outrage driven. Okay, and more than that, it's also it's sort of over time. I've noticed it has changed. Like, it has changed even just how we talk to each other in real life. Okay, and I'm sure I cannot be the only person who's noticed this. But God damn it, like, it's impossible to have a conversation with anybody on Facebook or just in real life anymore. Because I think that over time we had gotten used to the cadence of, the comment section of Facebook or the comment section of any sort of website, where it's like you say something, somebody else says something in response to you, and then it's all response driven, basically. And it kind of reminds me of what of a saying that they tell you in active listening, some of the lessons learned in active listening. And I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with active listening. Oh, speaking of active listening, I got a comment. Yes, Eric Schmitz. Hello. I didn't realize he looks so much like Jake Gyllenhaal. What? Oh, thank you. Oh, it's the hat. It's the hat. And I don't know. I haven't seen Jake Gyllenhaal in a while. I can't even tell you the last movie I've seen with Jake Gyllenhaal. What's he up to these days? Shoot, I have a little bit of a crush on Jake Gyllenhaal, so I will take that. I mean, that was definitely a compliment. Thank you, Eric. I mean, I can't think of a celebrity that you look like, Eric, but fuck it. As far as I'm concerned, you are a celebrity, because you're pretty goddamn handsome, sir. So Eric Schmitz, you don't need a celebrity to look like. You are a celebrity, honey. Okay. But thank you, though, darling. I appreciate that. But yeah, like, I've noticed, and I've noticed this in myself too, and it really bothered the fuck out of me how I noticed myself talking. Like, I talk differently. Like, I have conversations differently now than I did, say, 10 years ago. Where it almost feels like it almost feels like we've been trained now to sort of, and this is back to the active listening thing that I brought up before, that we sort of have been trained to, I'm trying to think of the saying here, how it goes, I don't fuck it up here, Okay, here it is. Listen. Active listening is what they say is that it's listening in order to understand. Okay, listening in order to understand versus what we see now, which is listening to respond. Okay, and I hope this kind of, I feel like, goddamn, I feel like this has been kind of almost like a plague in a way that has kind of swept over our entire sort of, goddamn, it really has kind of changed on a broad scale the way that we talk to each other. And I mean, even this kind of format, obviously, like, it's a quasi monologue because I'm talking to you and kind of just kind of riffing shit out of my head, But I do have feedback from you guys, like Eric Schmitz. Thank you very much for yours, by the way. I love when people actually comment on this shit. It makes me feel a little less like I'm talking to a blank fucking wall, which sadly is how I feel in like half the conversations that I've found myself in down here in Louisiana. And I'm not blaming this at all on the people of Louisiana by any means. I will blame it on a few acute factors, though, however. One, social media. Obviously, I think we've been on here long enough to kind of know that phenomenon. And I'll say number two, and this is going to be a little bit, I might be kind of putting myself out there a little bit, and I don't know if this is just stating the obvious or whatever, but the meth problem. My God. Let me just call a spade for what is. Let me just call a spade for what it is. The meth phenomenon is a gut-wrenching problem. And I think I've talked about this before, and I think I've even kind of opened up before about, I'm going to be honest here. I've used it before. I've used meth before. I am extremely careful with that shit, though. And I do not, in fact, I feel even weird saying that because I know, like, there's probably people watching this. I would never, ever, like, you guys have heard me talk about weed, like, probably ad nauseum. I love marijuana, okay? Like, cannabis should never have been illegal, should never have been made illegal. The whole idea of cannabis being illegal is entirely it's a trope, all right? There's no medical evidence that points to marijuana being any more dangerous than marijuana being more dangerous than, like, alcohol. In fact, if you're going to ban something of some of the major substances, I choose alcohol over weed. Fuck. And I think anybody who's sort of been around both of them, in a social setting, I think would agree. I've never gotten high on weed and wanted to fight somebody, for instance. Okay, like, if anything, it sedates you, it calms everybody down. Like, it's sort of what I would consider to be a stabilizer. Not necessarily a mood stabilizer, but sort of a vibe stabilizer, if you will. In terms of just a collective effect, at, say, like a party or, a bar or whatever, okay? Oh, thank you. Here, I'll take this. I don't even know why I was wearing this hat. I think it just matched my, matched my ensemble, I guess. But thank you. Aw, you guys are so sweet. And I'm glad that you guys are talking. God damn it. I miss Facebook Live conversations where other people talk besides me. So thank you guys for your comments, honestly. But yeah, like, the whole concept of listening to respond versus listening to understand, that has been an art that has been lost on us, okay? And with that, I think, kind of comes the concept of humility. And that's kind of why as I said at the beginning of this, I really do think that if I was to propose a new form of whatever the fuck these buttons are at the bottom that, you can do, like, the reacts and shit, I would propose one that is called humbled. Like, it would be nice to kind of read something on Facebook that I didn't already know, that I didn't already have sort of a preconceived notion of, But, I'm probably just as guilty as the rest of you of sort of, kind of skimming through the feed and only really kind of glossing the headlines and kind of being like, oh, fuck, this person's crazy. That person's full of shit. Like, and to be fair, like, I can think of no better way. I mean, most of us have at least, like, a lot, probably a shit ton of friends, many of which we don't even talk to anymore, at least in real life. And so, like, that's the only practical way, it is sort of a dilemma. I don't have an easy solution to, like, how to change the news feed to make it less outrage driven or less clickbait driven. But, like, I would say that, like, a small thing that Facebook could do, or hell, let's propose this to Elon Musk. Maybe this will help, prevent the bankruptcy of Twitter. I love watching that fucking Elon Musk, man. I tell you what. I remember one time, let's talk about Elon Musk for a second, all right? From one engineer to another. Elon Musk is perhaps one of the most overrated, entitled white men out there. And he masquerades as some brilliant-minded engineering guru. But really, at the end of the day, he's just another white guy playing with daddy's money. Just like every other fucking, so-called leader that we've had out there, in society. And I have to say, I don't know, I'm reaching this age, I'm 36 now. And I think a lot of, obviously like a lot of you folks are kind of probably at a similar age, perhaps, if we're friends. But I can't help but feel just enraged and honestly ashamed at our generation for letting this happen, okay? Like, I don't know about you, but I refuse to lose this country, all right? Like, God damn it, like, I will not be able to live with myself if we let this country fall to some of the worst people imaginable. I swear to God. And I'm seeing that, like, happen at a very rapid pace back in my home state of Ohio, man. It fills me with fucking fury what I'm seeing happen there. So let me give a little bit of context on this. Columbus, Ohio, which I've lived in for at least 5 years, and for longer than that, I've had some sort of relationship with Columbus. Whether I lived in Dayton and I dated somebody in Columbus or whatever, what have you. And I'm watching in real time my beloved home state, starting with Steubenville, mind you. Let's start with Steubenville, okay? Because I think Steubenville was kind of the canary in the coal mine, if you will. No pun intended, being a coal area, or historically one. But man, I would propose, and I'm probably gonna ruffle some feathers here with some of my blue collar friends, but I would posit that in about so let me give a little bit of background here. Steubenville is an area that was probably one of the first industrial powerhouses of our nation. It is the home, like, it's an area that, for at least for most of my life, has suffered just. Oh, there we go. We're back. No, but like Steubenville, for instance, okay? So for let's say, I would say up until, I would say for about 20 years of my life, yeah, about 20, 25 years of my life, I've watched Steubenville, my hometown. It's an area that we kind of, like most of us growing up there in the 80s and 90s, we'll say, we have all witnessed kind of and been part of the sort of the gradual and seemingly inevitable decline of the area, all right? Like, one thing I always used to sort of dread whenever I went back to Steubenville and visited home was I always sort of dreaded like that I always sort of, it'd always be the case that like one more business would be closed down. One more restaurant that I grew up with would close down. I used to dread the Hunan restaurant downtown closing down because it was one of my favorite, it still probably is my favorite Chinese restaurant, period, Yet, and that's life, okay? That's life. I've grown to accept that things come and go, and well, fuck, Steubenville just happened to be the unfortunate city that a lot more shit has gone than has come, okay? However, we had this this kind of sudden injection of success, I think, is an unexpected boon to the area when in about 2010, I would say, there was the whole shale gas phenomenon. And this has happened in lots of different areas of the country. Texas, Ohio, being two of the major ones. The shale, I think it's the Permian shale basin. And that, the discovery of that coupled with sort of the technology that we were developing that's now known as fracking, okay? Now, I'm not going to get into the debate about energy shit, about how, I'll just say fracking is not a sustainable thing. All right. I think for anybody who lives in those areas that had undergone, substantial shale gas development, will attest, I think a lot of us have seen the videos of the faucet water catching on fire because of all the methane that had kind of accumulated into the local water supply. So it doesn't take a geologist after some bit of time to sort of look back and be like, maybe we should stop this or at least regulate it a little bit, right? Maybe fire coming out of a person's faucet is not necessarily what we want. All right. Nonetheless, Steubenville has, say what you will about the environmental impact, okay? But nonetheless, like Steubenville, I mean, it brought Steubenville some much needed economic, relief. Like for the first time, I would go back to Steubenville and see that something new there. That somebody moved into Steubenville, not out of Steubenville. And I guess that was sort of like the assumption that I had made. And it was really awesome. It was really awesome. Like, I don't personally support fracking, but it was really nice to see for the first time in my life an area like my hometown not suffer after, and you live with 20 years of seeing a region suffer like that, and you grow up in it, you just kind of get used to it. So it was just refreshing as fuck to see this happen. At least it was refreshing at first. But I think, but it's a little complicated, okay? Because what I've noticed over time, and mind you, I don't live in Steubenville, so some of you guys like Kara Washington, hello. Some of you guys are Erica. Some of you guys that might, that are still in the area, or in Pittsburgh or whatever. I'm curious as to kind of some of your guys' opinions on this, because what I think we fooled ourselves a little bit. I think we got played a little bit. First of all, where the fuck is the shale gas now? Because, we had this whole thing with like Russia and Ukraine where we were going to try to everybody was stressing out about gas prices and Russia cutting off the supply. I mean, God damn it, if it does not ring the same fucking bells as 2000, whatever the fuck, like 2004 with Iran. Back when George W. Bush was pledging to stop buying oil from Iran. I mean, it reminds me a lot of that. And mind you, I guess if you're gonna if you're gonna purchase something from the devil, it might as well be the devil that's the devil in your hometown versus the devil in Russia or the devil in Iran. But nonetheless, we had some great times in the Steubenville region in the Ohio Valley as a result of the shale gas boom. However, when I take a closer look, and I think I've done a little bit of proper research on this, including talking to people and just kind of obviously visiting the area and such. I noticed that and for some of you guys who know me a little bit, I'm a big city guy, okay? I hate sprawl, okay? I fucking hate sprawl. Obviously, it sort of sometimes happens, and if you're just trying to afford a house, you can't afford to care about such wide, such large, such abstract concepts. I get that. We all need a house at the end of the day. But what I noticed about what happened in Steubenville in the 2010s with the shale gas development is it doesn't seem like a lot of the economic benefit went to the city of Steubenville. It seems to me like a lot of the people, a lot of the influx of workers and such that were coming in to work at these these new shale gas facilities, it seems like they were mostly kind of settling in. They were country people, I think, as far as I understand. And so from what I gather, it doesn't actually seem like Steubenville itself benefited very much from the shale gas development. But in fact, on the other hand, it probably, I don't know this for a fact, but it probably had some, at least small amount of environmental impact from from all these mines, or not mines, but all these wells popping up and such. So I think it does feel like we were a little bit hoodwinked in a way, not intentionally. I don't think we were intentionally deceived, but I think we failed. I think Steubenville kind of failed to reap the benefits, fully of what it could have with with that shale gas development. And the reason I bring that up is because what had happened instead is we were getting a lot of country folks. People. I think so. I'll say this. I don't think Steubenville proper benefited, but I think Jefferson County did. All right. So you did have sort of increases in population and development that sort of sprang up. Just maybe in I don't know, up 213 or along some of these more rural outposts of Jefferson County. Okay. I would bet that's probably where most people who moved to Steubenville for the shale gas boom decided to live. And I'm gonna play on a lot of stereotypes here, so I apologize, and please correct me if I'm wrong. But people that are these, that moved into the country and such, they're probably gonna be Republicans, all right? If you live in the country, it's because you probably want to get the fuck away from everybody, and you're probably one of those kind of self, you want to do everything yourself. Fuck everybody else, and every man for himself type of mindset, So that's the impression I get when I see like how Steubenville's changed actually. You know, in the last 15 years, we didn't really have like Steubenville itself didn't really have the increase, the prosperity. It didn't really enjoy the prosperity that you would think it might have enjoyed when you have, some sort of major energy discovery and all that kind of thing, So the growth that did happen in that area was dispersed over rural areas, okay? And that resulted, I think, in a large kind of influx of these new Republicans into the area. These country boys, the good old boys, working the mills and working the whales, pumping that oil out of the ground, And so when I look at Ohio now, I'm seeing sort of the net effect of this, and I think it was apparent to me probably around 2016, pretty much. When we had the Trump election, and God damn it, I think a lot of us who grew up in that area knew. At least I knew in the bottom of my heart when that election was going on that Hillary would never win that region of, she would never win over those people. And, say what you will about whether I think, and I have to admit, like, I'm just as guilty as probably a lot of your Republican friends as, into drinking the Kool-Aid of hating Hillary. I hated Hillary, and I look back on that and I really, truly regret it. And it's kind of sad because Hillary Clinton, is actually kind of hilarious. Like if you just watch just random videos of Hillary Clinton, just in an interview, especially since she's after she ran for president and such, just hearing her kind of off the cuff, no filters and such, and not giving a fuck. She's hilarious. I would love to have a beer with Hillary Clinton. But looking back on that time, during that era, during the 2016 election, I just remember how much I hated her. Now, I didn't hate her because I was a Republican. I hated her because I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. And I really, and I had sort of lumped her with a lot of the corporatist, kind of neoliberal economics type of, kind of the corporatist elite, okay? And a lot of us did. And some of that, and I'm realizing that a big reason of that was because her husband, Bill Clinton, in the 90s, signed NAFTA. And I think it is that, and I think that is actually a legitimate reason why. I don't know. That's not Hillary Clinton's fault. That's her husband's thing, obviously. So there was that flaw in sort of how I thought about Hillary Clinton. Anyways, the only reason I'm bringing this up, I don't know why I got into the Hillary Clinton thing. It was related, I promise. Just the area, how it's changed. Steubenville and Jefferson County have gotten red. And back in the 90s and stuff, it wasn't that long ago that Steubenville was a union-held Democratic stronghold. I think it was around the year 2000 that the county shifted red for the first time in a while, and that's the result of several factors. Obviously the steel industry went kaput, so you didn't have the union influence as much as you did back in the 70s and 80s. But yeah, I'm kind of talking about this because I'm seeing my state change, and it is not changing for the better. Okay. And I can't help but feel a little bit responsible. I know this is a little bit egotistical and delusion. Whatever. I know I'm only one person, okay, obviously, but God damn it, growing up in Steubenville, you always hear this, to be considered successful in a place like Steubenville is to get the fuck out of Steubenville, right? We sort of have this mentality that only the losers stayed behind. And I think that's really unfortunate. And it's funny because in Alexandria, Louisiana, it's got the exact same vibe. If you were smart, if you were successful, you would leave Alexandria after you graduated high school, and you would go to some nice college. You go maybe LSU, which is Louisiana State in Baton Rouge, maybe even Tulane, which is obviously, kind of like the bougie private school, option. And same thing in Steubenville. A lot of us went to Ohio State after graduating Big Red. You know how that is. And it was a trend. It was trendy to get the fuck out of your hometown and kind of move on to bigger, better, things. The big city life. At least that's kind of how I was. But man, seeing that type of phenomenon happen en masse, all right? Seeing not just me make those types of choices, but seeing kind of an entire population shift and migration pattern in that, in that vein, we're seeing, I think now, sort of the net effect of it. And Steubenville and the Ohio Valley are not the only region to have, Ohio is not the only area to have, migration, there's been migrations all over the place. I witnessed when I was in Portland, Portland, let me shift to Portland for a second. I mean, I suffered some of the worst time of my life in Portland, Oregon. But my story is not unique, believe it or not. Like, I shit you not. Remember, Steubenville was not a, it suffered its own economic crisis, its own economic losses, extended over a long period of misery. But I've never witnessed such a profound change in the vibe of a city like I did with Portland, Oregon. And I don't know if I can really effectively articulate this in words, just how depressing this feeling was of seeing, because I had several snapshots into Portland. I mean, for some of you guys who know, Portland was a place that I had my heart on for at least 8 years of my life. That was my dream city, baby. That was where I wanted to go and make a future for myself, do the whole green movement, weed smoking, queer loving lifestyle there, man. But boy, was I a fucking fool. Fuck, man. I was a fool. Because, again, Portland was a place I had sort of seen indirectly since about 2010, from about 2010 to 2020. So I sort of watched Portland, Oregon, how it's developed over the last 10 years. And girl, it ain't pretty. Okay, let me tell you, it ain't not pretty. Specifically, when I was there, let me give some data points here, okay? Put this down for a moment, actually. I don't even have any more weed. This is a rare moment of seeing Mike George Facebook Live with no weed. This is me sober, baby. if you will. So Portland, Oregon in 2010 was a wonderful place, full of hippies, stoners, the most, some of the, it was the type of place that you just walk around downtown Portland and you'd smell weed in the air. You'd see every other person holding a joint in their hand, and half the time somebody would offer you one. People were really just cool and laid back and friendly. It was it just felt like a very loving place, a very loving place that actually cared about the environment and cared about some of the broader things that don't that aren't directly selfishly related, environment, social justice, etc. But man, comparing Portland in 2010 versus Portland in 2020, girl, very few things describe the heartbreak of seeing an entire city of people, an entire mass of persons, all collectively lose hope. And mind you, I indirectly witnessed. I only sort of witnessed snapshots, and then finally lived there in 2020 through the hell of it all, of seeing a place as wonderful as Portland, Oregon, just completely, utterly deteriorate in the shit. And this doesn't just go for the building. This isn't just a matter of buildings being abandoned and businesses moving out and yada yada. This is something far deeper. This is witnessing 100,000 people or so collectively lose hope. And I know that sounds kind of abstract and wishy-washy and shit, but Portland in 2020, when I was homeless there, I'd be damned if anybody would offer me a joint like they might have in 2010. My God, it's literally impossible, because I'm pretty sure that a good 40% of Portland, Oregon, and I'm not exaggerating, girl, I am not exaggerating when I say 40%, at least of the queer population, there is homeless. There are no more joints left to give. It is, and seeing the net effect, the net effect of this humongous influx of homeless people and seeing the impact that that has just on the everyday person who's not homeless is it was profound. It was profound because let's just pick out a random person from the Portland city, like the average, like maybe say middle class person, As I said before, perhaps in 2010, like that person would have been really cool to hang out with. And like, maybe we would hang out and like she'd offer me a joint or something. Like if I just randomly went up to her on the street and just made chit chat. That will never happen in 2020, girl. What you instead see in 2020 is practically a bombed out landscape of abandonment and meth. And girl, I'm pretty certain that all of us by now have seen some, through some indirect fashion, the effects of this shit. And anyways, like, I don't mean to like hark on that shit, obviously, but like just the collective result is Portland went from a wonderful little oasis of weed smoking, hippiness to a really depressing, a really depressing shit show in which even the people that want to help each other can't. Like, they're just seeing the look on somebody's face when a homeless person walks up to them and tries, and needs money. Looking at the face of that middle-class person, with the purse and everything, I'll never forget. It's just the look of somebody who really wants to give that dollar out to the homeless person. You can tell she wants to give that dollar out, but she just can't. For what, maybe she's broke herself. Or maybe she's just kind of like, just accepted the fact that that dollar that she gives out is not going to change a damn thing. There's that collective loss of hopelessness. That collective loss of hope that has kind of permeated the city. And goddamn, I don't know how to really put that in words, because that is something that is truly a vibe that has to be felt in order to be fully appreciated, I think. And it's not the same type of vibe that I've ever felt in Steubenville either. Like, Steubenville went through its own economic decline, but I think that decline was sort of slow and steady enough to be somewhat not a shit show. But damn, like, Portland, Oregon just left a very profound impression in my heart. Not only just for my personal experience being homeless there, but just for witnessing the collective result of 100,000 people or so all losing hope. And all kind of feeling that sense of, even if I do give this dollar out to this person, it will do nothing. It will change nothing. And that feeling sucks, man. That feeling really sucks. It has to be one of the worst feelings. The worst, like, sort of, oh God, it has been one of the worst feelings of my life. Seeing that. And girl, I refuse to let that type of thing happen in Ohio. And I don't know if that's going to, that's unfair to assume that Ohio is going to go through the same shit, This is, the Ohio thing, what I'm seeing in Ohio is the right, that's different. That's all the fucking right-wing people. The people that call themselves Republicans. I love that. I challenge, and I know I have some viewers on here that are Republican still somehow. But I will say though, I'm not Republican anymore, and I probably will never vote for another Republican in my life, unfortunately, but I still hold on to the badge of being a conservative, okay? I am a conservative. You know why? I'll tell you why. It's very simple, I think. Because I like conserving things. Tell me one thing these days that the people that call themselves conservatives, tell me one fucking thing that they want to conserve. Besides the delusion of their former president, that he won the election. Like, tell me one thing. Is it that we want to conserve our freedom? Do we want to conserve the economy, economic stability? Do we want to conserve values? Do we want to conserve, what is it? What is it that the modern day conservative of 2020 plus, what is it that you want to conserve? Tell me that. I pose the question, and I'll wait for I'll give you guys a chance to think. And even if you guys don't identify as conservative, feel free to chime in. Naturally, I would assume a conservative would maybe withhold their comments or conserve them. But shit. And, you know, I'm not an idiot. I'm not naive. You know, the hypocrisy of the Republican Party kind of became apparent when they started doing things like trying to tell me who I can marry, you know. So, like, I was already kind of onto something that smelled really funny, you know, when the party of small government then turns around and uses that same government to basically curtail the freedoms of everybody that's not a white man. So, back to that question of, what is it that we're trying to conserve? Anybody? Oh, I can give you guys some time. I got all day. Oh, shit, I would have taken the time to smoke my weed now, but I forgot, it just ran out. So we're just going to have some, yeah. Anybody? Any takers on that question? I got to play some Jeopardy music for that, fill in some of this dead space. So yeah, nothing. I'm pretty sure, well, let's see, let me do a proper look here. Nope. Conserving nothing. What, you know, I would say that the closest thing I can think of to anything, any sort of tangible thing that is being conserved by them is, fuck, their big dick syndrome, I guess, really. the need for a white boy to act like a douchebag to make up for the pathetic little dick he has. And, you know, let me just say, I don't have a huge dick. I'm Asian, okay? I'm half Asian. I am half white, though, so you can, I don't know, it's a little bit in the air of how big I truly am. Well, I am in my underwear right now, so I guess we could just always have a look. But nope, we gotta keep this PG for the kids, okay? It's Sunday, it's the Lord's Day. You don't want to see that. So back to the point of, what are we conserving? Anybody? So yeah, I mean, my point exactly. And so when somebody tells me that they're conservative, it is utterly meaningless. All right? Right? What does it mean? Nobody can tell me. I would love to go up to, and actually I did this when I was in Portland, but you know, these Proud Boys that are now surfacing in Ohio, ruining our little our little drag show tea times or whatever, you know, which I've never been to one of those. They sound really intriguing, I have to say. The drag queen story times. Oh, I wish those were around when I was a kid. Damn it. I feel like I would have been, damn, I don't know. Anyways, enough about me. But damn it, like, what is it? So, like, yeah, so, like, you know, I've been reading about, like, what recently happened in Columbus with, like, basically a drag, I think it was, like, a bookstore that they were hosting a drag queen story time. And this drag queen story time was basically disrupted by a group of right-wing protesters that were armed. Okay? Now, I'm a big fan of free speech and the right to assemble peacefully. But somebody tell me how bringing a gun to an event implies peaceful assembly. I don't know. I don't see that. I fail to see how that computes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know sometimes I like to bring my weed to an event like that and smoke it, and, you know, freedom. Yay, freedom. But somebody tell me why they feel that they need to bring a gun to that type of event. I don't know. Shit. I'm really curious. What are we trying to hunt down with our guns at a children's event? And I find it funny that it's the same people that go on about, like, how, oh, we're corrupting our children with all the, you know, with the gays shit, you know, like, fuck that, man. Like, what a joke. These same people then turn around and fucking bring guns around children at a storytime event. Like, what utter ridiculousness. It takes a really small dick to stoop to that level of just ridiculousness. Ha, no pun intended. Ridiculous. Oh, that was a dad joke. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, I'm not in Columbus. Obviously, some of you guys probably have a lot more firsthand shit on that, but I was just reading about this morning, and oh my God. Yeah. I feel like, what the fuck? And I'm just sitting here and thinking, man, like, it wasn't that long ago that Ohio was, like, a boring as fuck state. You know, we were always, like, the middle state, like the bellwether state, you know, if you will. I mean, fuck. I mean, the most exciting thing about Ohio used to be that we would get the new target concept, like, years before it was tried out everywhere else. You know, we were sort of the pilot market, you know? We were sort of the experimental market where a lot of these big brands would sort of try out new things. Now we're known as like the shit show where right-wing militias show up at a drag time story event. What fuckery is that? What the fuck, man? how quickly, like, damn it, it wasn't that long ago that our Republicans consisted of, like, John Kasich and Mike DeWine and some of the most boring-ass white people imaginable. But now, that part, like, in just a matter of, like, 6 years, 5, 6 years, holy fuck. Holy fuck, it's scary to see how quickly, like, an entire area can lose its mind. Right? Jesus fuck. I'm ashamed of our state. I am utterly ashamed. Like, and I never thought that I would be here in Louisiana, like, looking up to the north at my home state and just feeling disgusted and embarrassed for it. Like, as somebody who now lives in the South, of all things. Fuck. That's a strange world these days, huh? So anyways, I say this because, god damn it, I can't help but feel like, and I've felt this for a while, I think, a little bit, but, you know, like, a lot of people, you know, kind of back to what I was talking about with people leaving Steubenville. You know, the cool thing being to leave Steubenville and go to the big cities like New York and blah, 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 and Portland, Oregon, and Montreal even, you know. I have to say, I feel somewhat complicit in letting that happen. And not, you know, mind you, I'm just one person, but I imagine a lot of other people, you know, like, you know, perhaps like college educated or whatever, you know, the educated progressives or whatever you want to call us. I feel a little bit, I can't help but feel a little bit responsible for contributing to the vacuum that we left behind in our state. Because this vacuum has filled with some of the worst fucking people imaginable. I shit you not. And I refuse, like, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing this shit happen. I am tired of it. And I'm 36 years old. Our generation is at the age now where we have to take responsibility for these things, honey. And I cannot believe I'm even saying this, but, like, I feel a very big risk coming up of losing our country. Losing what was known as the United States of America. You know? I feel something ominous approaching. And, you know, obviously there's all, you know, everybody's watching 2024, you know, see, like, if Donald Trump runs again and if he tries to contest the election again and blah, blah, blah. But, like, that shit is happening in real time now. We cannot wait till 2024. Every time we wait, every time we get complacent, more shit like that happens. And I'm tired of it. I don't know about you. I'm fucking tired of it. All right? I'm an American, and I cannot believe, I am utterly ashamed of this country, and specifically of my home state, for, like, what the fuck, allowing this shit to happen? Like, I cannot believe that I'm sitting here in the year 2022 talking about fascists taking over Ohio. What the fuck, man? Because I will not ever call them Republicans. I will not ever call them conservatives. Because, again, what is it that we're trying to conserve? Nothing. All they want to conserve is their right to carry around their tiny ass dicks and their big ass guns. That's all they care about. And you know that that's the sense of their narrow-mindedness when they bring guns to a fucking children's event. You know? That just is utterly shameful on so many levels. Starting with the fact, oh, god damn it, I can't even. Let me zoom out of that little outrage moment. Jesus fuck. But goddamn, I hope I'm not the only person who feels that, because it is utterly fucking disgraceful, if you ask me. Like, I almost have to, like, really check myself here, because it feels like I'm in a dream somewhat to even say things like this, to sort of witness this event happening, you know? We cannot let it happen any further. I will put my dead body over letting one of these fucking Nazis take over the state of Ohio. I swear to God, if I need to, I will, gladly. Fuck that shit. I refuse. God damn it. Sorry, I'm being emotional. But god damn it, like, I remember, like, when I lived in Columbus for a time, you know, back when all these, like, police shootings were happening. Well, they're still happening. I remember just, like, I was just walking down the street, like, you know, walking back home. I remember seeing these two black girls playing on the street. Nothing bad was happening. Nothing, you know, they were just having a good old time on their bicycles and shit. And they were just laughing, and, you know, they were being kids. Damn it, I just couldn't help. It was right after, I can't right now. It was right after it was right after one of those police incidents in which the police of Columbus, the Columbus PD, shot a black teenage girl that, she was, mind you, she was acting aggressive and shit, like she had a knife or something. I don't need to know the excuses, okay? There is no excuse for a trained professional in law enforcement to brandish a gun on a 13-year-old. I'm sorry. I don't care if she has a knife. I don't care what the fuck she has. I'm tired of the excuses from these so-called tough boys who can't deal with a girl holding a knife. Yet they want to tell me that they have the right to wave around guns at a drag show? Fuck that shit. No. No. Fuck that shit. I'm tired of this shit. Utterly disgraceful. And I can't believe I can't believe how many of us allow this to happen. Like, how many of us does it take to just sit here and do nothing and just watch our country fucking fall to shit before we do something about it? Like, I don't know. Like, what does it take? I mean, does it take seeing friends of ours get jailed away or shot by the police? Or like, what does it take? I don't know. Because, oh God, I mean, it's shameful at best and kind of scary at worst. And we have to reject it, man. Like, I'm tired of just watching Facebook and watching CNN and watching all this bullshit happen in real time in my country, okay? In your country. I can't believe, I mean, it's sort of, man, I really have to zoom out and, like, remind myself, it's the year 2022. This is supposed to be the future. God damn it. Y'all already know how pissed I am about the fact that it's 2022 and we're still driving around, petrol-powered cars and shit like it's still 1980. But fuck, I mean, not only that, we've gone down the shit show. We've gone down the shitter. And nobody gives a fuck. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, we give a fuck, but we just don't know what to do, I think. There's that sense of hope, of sort of the collective hopelessness that I was talking about with Portland. Like, where like literally the room is on fire, but nobody knows what to do. And God damn it, like, we think we're so special, the United States, We think we're so, like, different than all the other countries that have also seen their democracies fall apart, Talk to somebody from Iran. Talk to somebody from Iraq. Talk to somebody from any of these countries. Fuck, Ecuador, Chile. There's a long list of countries who thought they were special, too. That they were the democracy, that they were the beacon of democracy and freedom. Sorry. I mean, fuck. I mean, we are not the only ones that, like, fuck. I think it was my first time when I would go to Taiwan when I was a kid. Oh, I think the fuck God Taiwan still exists for now. But, yeah, I mean, like, fuck, man. I even felt like the vibe that, like, Taiwan was freer than the United States. Like, when I was a kid, like, it just felt like I don't know, it's a vibe thing, I guess, I don't know. But, and mind you, things were relatively good back then. That was when Clinton was the president, and, the biggest concern we had back then was who was sucking his dick, But fuck, man, how far we have fallen, right? It's amazing to think that in, like, my lifetime, we've allowed this to occur on our watch. I don't know about you. I am just sick with utter fucking shame right now at this whole shit show. And let's be honest, we did allow this to happen. Our generation, my generation, class of 2004, etc. That, whatever you want to call us, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever the fuck. But we are allowing this to happen. And the longer that we don't do anything about it, the more that we have to face the reality of losing our country. And I don't say this as some sort of, like, patriotic brouhaha or anything. I'm saying this because it's real, girl. Look at the news, if you can. If you can stomach it. It's chilling, man. I don't know how many more incidents like this it will take for us to wake up. And I think, by the way, speaking of woke and waking up, I love that now the term woke is like an insult. Like I've heard the term, like, with like some of the Republicans that are running for government, that want to be running for president in the future. They toss around the word woke back on us like as if it's some sort of insult, like, which kind of makes me, it cracks me up because I don't understand how I don't know. Like, I guess it just kind of blows my mind that a party that not too long ago stood up for, small government, individual liberties, personal responsibility. It amazes me that a party that espouses its beliefs in personal responsibility would then turn around and mock wokeness. Like, what the fuck? Don't mock wokeness if you're not going to have an alternative. And the only alternative I can think of is to remain asleep, which is exactly what is becoming transparent that they want for you. Of course, they were a lot more savvy at kind of concealing that basic fact, but now it's kind of pretty much in the open. I think now it's kind of just might as well just say, call a spade for what it is. But it's sort of amazing to me that this is happening in real time on television, and we're letting it happen. We're letting it happen. We're letting the douchebags take over. We really are. We're losing. We're losing rapidly. And it's really easy to think, I think, for us, especially, those of us in those of us who are kind of isolated away from the, who are kind of cloistered in our own little middle-class bubbles, with our comfortable lifestyles and Facebook and shit. I think it's easy for us to get complacent. And we have to remind ourselves that each moment that we sit there on Facebook and do nothing to change things is an additional moment that the worst people on fucking earth have to gather more momentum. And I don't like where it's going. At all. And fuck, man. Fuck if I'm going to let this shit happen on my watch. I don't know about y'all. I will not let that occur. And like I said, I don't have kids yet. I don't have kids yet. I have very few fucks left to give, okay? And if I need to, oh God, if I need to be that poor fool that, I'm just thinking of the Tiananmen Square thing now, because, that one guy that stood in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square, I can't help but think of that image. And, goddamn, if that, sorry, I'm being emotional. God damn it, and I promise you I didn't smoke any weed today. Oh God, I wish I could use weed as the excuse on this one. But man, I can't help but think, like, God damn, if that man is not one of the bravest, if not foolish, motherfuckers imaginable. And yet, here I am, seeing both my country, the United States of America, and also Taiwan, where my mom lives. I'm seeing both of those beacons of democracy under threat. And I can't help but compare the reactions. And I have to say, I truly admire the Taiwanese people. I swear to God. Because I've seen some of those protests. I've seen some of those student protests in Taiwan. Not in person, but just, and man, they are fighting with their lives. They know what democracy and freedom means on a core level, man, in a way that I don't think we will until it's too late. And damn it, like I said, I refuse to let this happen. I refuse to stay silent and to regret not having spoken up before, because I have let that happen too many times already. God, I just remember one of the most vivid points in my life was 2020, during those fucking wildfires, man, in Portland. And I'm an environmentalist. By golly, I can't understand how all of us aren't environmentalists by now. But God damn it, I remember watching those fires and thinking to myself, my God, I have utterly failed this world. Like, if my life was supposed to be a video game of some sort, it's game over, baby. This is the game over point. I just remember sitting there feeling a sense of failure. Like, fuck, man. And when I think of those black girls just playing in the street in Columbus, I think, my God, these girls just are doing their thing. Like the children of today, we owe them the childhood that we got to enjoy, man. We owe them that, if nothing else. Because Lord knows we destroyed our planet. God damn it. So the least we can do is stand up for this country, for them. I will not let this country fall to the worst people ever. I have let this happen too long. And we have to start doing something, man. I don't know what yet, but we have to figure something out quickly. This is not tenable. Anyways, sorry, that was a little bit emotional. I promise you that was not for performance. That was, fuck, I wish it was, actually. God damn it. Oh, sorry, that was a bit of a moment there. But yes. Oh, God. Yeah, anyways. Happy Sunday, y'all. All right. God damn, I had to get that off my chest, though. Fuck. Anyways, I've stopped giving a fuck, as you can tell, because I have now wandered on in Facebook land for what is now coming on to probably an hour or so. So I think I will take this opportunity to wipe away my tears. And do I even bother to check the New York Times? I think I'm going to wait until I've had some good weed before I decide to open up the New York Times today, I think. So, I guess I'll leave some parting notes here. Make sure to get the fuck out of the house. Get the fuck off your phone. Get the fuck off your television for a second and just enjoy life a little bit. Enjoy life in person. And when I say that, I mean put your phone away. Fuck it. Put your phone away. Lock your phone up for a day or so. Allow yourself to leave the house without your phone. I know it's hard, but allow that for yourself just for a day. It's Sunday, after all. It's the Lord's Day. We should be praying to him somewhere. I hate saying him. God is not a him. I don't know how I see even I'm making that mistake of calling God a he. But, shit. Yeah, enjoy it. Say hello to your neighbor. Say hello to somebody random, all right? And, put your phone away and just enjoy life IRL. Because, God damn it, I have a feeling it's not going to last forever. So enjoy it now, kids. And on that note, this has been Mike George coming at you live from Crimson House. Y'all have a blessed day. Enjoy your Sunday. Get out there and say hello to somebody random. And as I always say at the end of all these broadcasts, take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Toodaloo!